Good day, good morning. Welcome to day 5 of our One Sustainability 2022 conference. We are joined this morning from Athens, Greece by George Kremlis. He's the principal advisor to the Greek Prime Minister, honorary director of the European Commission. Good morning, good afternoon, George. George's topic this morning for us is the international dimension of the European Union's circular economy policy and legal framework. Let me hand it off over to you, George. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today and kicking off day 5.
Thank you, Glenn. Good morning, everyone. It is a real pleasure and a privilege to deliver a speech from Athens virtually on this important, in the context of this important One Sustainability conference, and on a topic which is extremely important nowadays, namely the international dimension of the European Union circular policy and legal framework. Let me start by some general considerations. As you know, the European Union has adopted a very ambitious policy framework named the Green Deal. It is a new pioneering framework aiming at carbon neutrality by 2050 and covering all the challenges that currently not only the European Union but also the global economy is facing in terms of energy transition, in terms of energy crisis, the climate crisis, which is becoming more and more visible and which is our first priority to be tackled during COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh. And we are really very happy that with the United States of America and in particularly Secretary John Kerry, the Special Envoy for Climate, the European Union and the United States are on the same page, having the same level of ambition towards energy transition and climate neutrality by 2050, and the efforts we need to deploy to avoid the increase of the temperature and contain it within 1.5 Celsius to avoid a further degradation of our climate. So starting from the Green Deal, I wanted to share with you the context within which the circular economy as the new economic model, which will ensure the energy transition and ultimately carbon neutrality, is developing within the European Union. And our ambition in the European Union to share this model as a good practice worldwide, especially with our key partners, with the view to joining forces in this combat against climate change. Now, let me give you the description or imagine an ancient Greek monument with 3 pillars. Pillar 1 is the sustainable growth, a key priority of the European Union, that any investment and growth should not anymore be a simple growth creating jobs, but a green growth. In other words, a growth which is in line with the environmental and the climate standards, a growth that has a low energy, climate, and environmental footprint. And of course, this growth is supported by financing both from the European Union, but also from international financial institutions. In the European Union, we have the European Investment Bank, but the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development is also considered as a European bank, although they are both global international banks. They use the taxonomy regulation of the European Union, which is a legal framework on the green financing, the green investments, namely the green growth investments that are eligible for financing and are those that will be supported financially. So this is the first pillar, the one of the green growth. Next to it, you have the blue growth pillar. Oceans and the seas are extremely important. They represent almost the 80% of the surface of our planet. The resources within the blue economy are huge. I'm not referring only to hydrocarbons, but also to fisheries and aquaculture, to minerals and other possibilities that can be extracted from the seabed. And in that respect, blue economy is extremely important. It is a priority of the European Union as well, supported by European Union funds. The third pillar is the pillar of digital economy. Digital economy is becoming more and more important. And because of COVID, and I can use here the word thanks to COVID, it has become instrumental in our lives. It has become an economic driver and a pioneering policy to digitalize and to facilitate the implementation and the operation of all the other policies. And then on the top of these three pillars, you have this triangle of the Greek temple, which is circular economy. Circular economy is the overarching emblematic priority of the European Union, which is mainstreamed in green growth, in digital economy, and in blue economy. So we can speak from now on using the words circular green growth, circular blue economy, circular digital economy. And of course, all these pillars are interacting among each them to make it even more complex, using the words circular, digital, green growth, etc., as they reinforce each other in this construction, which is the circular economy complex framework under the Green Deal, which is the broader policy framework agreed at the level of heads of state and government, and within which circular economy with the three pillars to which I have referred is the emblematic priority. The priority which will enable us to ensure the energy transition and climate neutrality against the current, unfortunately, still prevailing model of linear economy. Circularity has reached only an 8%, which is a very low percentage compared to the dominant linear economy model which applies. And of course, our aim is to make circular economy the dominant, the predominant model within the European Union, but also to have this model shared, exported, if I may say so, to all our partners. And what I can already say at this stage is that within the neighborhood policy of the European Union, which is the policy with our neighbors in the European Union, we are promoting a circular economy with initiatives that are also supported by the neighborhood policy instrument, a financial instrument, but also within the circle of the candidate countries for accession to the European Union, namely the Western Balkans, for which another instrument exists, another financial instrument, the pre-accession instrument. Those instruments are taking on board and are driven by circular economy considerations, as we want our neighbors, which have privileged commercial and other relationships with the European Union, but we want also our future members to accede already now to this new economic model, which is the model that will save our planet. Let me say that if we continue with the current linear economy patterns, which are unsustainable production and the consumption patterns, we will need, according to the expectations and the forecasts, the negative forecasts, 2 planets in 2040 and possibly 3 planets in 2050, something unconceivable. Therefore, circular economy is the model that needs to be prevail. It is a one-way, I would say, one-way option for us to save the planet and, of course, to protect the future of the new generations. This is the sustainability principle, the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, which have to be implemented by 2030, with the view to protecting our planet and give the possibility the next generation to benefit from the same quality of environment that we have benefited as the current generation of our planet. Therefore, this climate diplomacy, this circular economy diplomacy, this environmental diplomacy is becoming a powerful tool of the European Union. And of course, we are very happy that Secretary John Kerry is developing on behalf of the United States of America a similar climate and environmental diplomacy worldwide with the view to protecting the planet from the climate crisis. And on this point, I would like to mention that unfortunately, the war in Ukraine has exacerbated the climate crisis and, of course, the energy crisis. And all these crises are linked to each other, together with the food safety and also the, let's say, the consequences of the COVID pandemic. We are currently paying the price and facing the consequences of a snowball of several crises, which are reinforcing each other, unfortunately. And in that respect, I would like to emphasize that the footprint of the war in Ukraine in terms of climate protection and of protection of the environment is extremely high. We all know that the environment has no borders. We all know that when, unfortunately, the Chernobyl accident happened in Ukraine, the pollution and the nuclear cloud was felt practically everywhere in Europe. And we know how serious the situation is in Ukraine with the hits and the missiles which have almost reached Zaporizhia largest nuclear power plant in Ukraine, which, thanks God, was preserved, and thus a major nuclear accident was avoided. But it's not only this threat for a nuclear accident, which is always there. It is the environmental degradation, the air pollution, and the climate change degradation because of the bombs, because of the emissions from all the explosions, because the chemical industries have been hit by bombs and missiles, because of the other environmental damages in terms of infrastructures in the country, which have degraded the state of the environment and which are thus increasing the impacts on climate change. Therefore, it is extremely important in COP27 to be able to agree not only on a roadmap on how we will avoid the further increase of the temperature of the planet, but on how we can also tackle the energy crisis and the impacts of the war and of wars in general on climate. This is something new which needs to be taken into consideration to avoid further degradation of the climate, something that we are all feeling more and more. Let me now come again to the circular economy model, which is the model that we need to promote worldwide. Circular economy is to be considered in the largest possible way. I would use the Latin words lato sensu, covering not only what some people think that circular economy is waste management and waste water treatment, but covering all the economic activities which are currently developed, leading to sustainable production and consumption patterns. We therefore need, within the circular economy, a new generation of circular products, products which will have a longer lifespan, which will use recyclables during their fabrication, which will have a low environmental climate and energy input during their fabrication, but which also during their full life cycle will have low impacts. And when they will reach the end of their life cycle, and here a life cycle analysis is needed, when you design circular products, when they reach this last stage, they can be easily recyclable or can be turned to other raw materials or secondary products that can start a new life, thus reintegrating the circle of the economy. And this is the concept of circular economy, contrary to the one of linear economy, where we were producing short life products, not caring about their climate, energy, and environmental footprint during the construction and during their life. And at the end of their life, simply dumping them in waste site or burning them to produce energy. Now, within the circular economy, things change. We need this new generation of circular products. And next to this, we need also new models, circular models. For example, you don't need anymore, and this happens in some sectors of the industry, to buy a washing machine or a refrigerator or even a car or the tires, winter or summer tires of a car. This is provided as a service through leasing or other forms. Therefore, the right of ownership changes now. It becomes a circular ownership, if I can put this in inverted commas, leasing or sharing that has a lower impact on the environment, on climate, and which ensures a service during the whole life of the product with you as a household or as a consumer, and then the company taking care of this in terms of maintenance, but also at the end of the life of the product, recycling or possibly reusing this product. So there are other forms which are extremely important. And circular economy is also covering what is called industrial symbiosis. For example, some industries, some activities have at the end of their production process waste. These waste can be raw material or secondary products for other companies that can use them. For example, waste oils or some types of chemicals or residues from industrial processes that other companies can use through circular economy processes to produce other products for which they have the know-how and the technology. Extremely important. So waste being, let's say, a main sector, because waste is linked to production and also to the life cycle of the products, is now changing in the context of circular economy as we are leading to an economy with zero waste. This is not a topic. Of course, it cannot be reached from one day to the other. It will take time, but this is the idea. It's to reduce the production of waste, and the targets of the European Union is by 2035 to ensure 65% recovery and recycling, and only 10% deposited in sanitary sites, waste sites, which means that the residue of the residue can also be used to produce electricity, as there are no recyclables to recover from the residue of the residue. Circular economy is also important for the wastewater. We all know that human activity, but also industrial activity, produces wastewater. It is important to treat this water properly according to the, let's say, the state of the environment of the recipient water body. And of course, it is extremely important to reuse this gray water, because it is a pity this treated water to reach the sea or rivers which end to the sea, and not use it for irrigation. And there is, in this respect, a good practice regulation of the European Union, which allows for gray water, treated wastewater, to be used for irrigation purposes. It can also be used to improve the boreholes if they have been salinated, or for a secondary network for industrial water, for cooling water, for waters, for example, in the ports and in the marinas to wash boats, and for other purposes. Therefore, here again, the idea is that treated water is not wastewater that is to be wasted. It should be reused. It should be brought back to the mainland for various uses, which are extremely important. Let me give you also some other good examples. Among the waste streams, we have food waste. The target under the Sustainable Development Goals is to reduce food waste by 50% by 2030. The important thing is to reduce food waste, but also to use food waste for specific purposes. And in that respect, food waste is not only the food waste from the restaurants, but it is also the expired food in the supermarkets, or the food in the processing of food production. This important stream, I'm not using the word waste stream as it is a material, is extremely important for several purposes. You can produce feed, i.e. food for animals. You can produce very good quality compost for agriculture. You can produce biogas and biofuels, and therefore improve the energy mix of the country. We now, under the Green Deal and the climate law of the European Union and all the political commitments that have been taken, we are now trying to phase out from the Russian gas. And we have reduced this from 40% that we had in the European Union energy mix to 9% currently, thanks also to the LNG from the United States and from Norway and some other partners. Therefore, using biomass to produce energy is extremely important, because we can improve in that way our energy mix and facilitate, accelerate the phasing out from the Russian gas. Now, let me come back to the main aspects of circular economy. Circular economy applies as a cross, in the sense that it applies both vertically and horizontally to reach the goals of circular economy. We need to have it applied from the national to the regional and to the local level. And therefore, we should not speak anymore about smart cities, but circular cities. We need to develop circular plans at national level and circular plans at regional level. And we need to mainstream circular economy in all the other policies, with the view to making them circular. In other words, to make circular tourism, to make tourism circular, to make agriculture circular, to make fisheries circular, to make energy circular. This is the way to promote a circular economy, both vertically and horizontally. And I would like to refer to another dimension, which is the dimension of circular economy at the company level, ESG, in other words, environmental and social governance. Environmental and social governance is extremely important. It has followed the corporate social governance. It is the development, and now one should call environmental and social governance circular environmental and social governance. These are patterns that need to be introduced in the business plans of the companies, in their reporting, with the view to allowing them to seek green financing for their investments, and also to improve their branding, especially for companies in the stock exchange that are trying to become green, and therefore attract more clients in this new era of circular economy, which is currently developing. Let me finish this intervention, as time is flying, by saying that everything needs to become circular. We are talking about circular policies, circular cities, circular companies. I would like to use also the word of circular household and circular citizen. We need all of us to reduce our environmental, climate, and energy footprint. And this is something now we are feeling a lot in Europe with the increase of the energy prices. We need to save energy, to make economies on energy. We need to be more rational on the way we operate as a citizens, households, with the view to protecting our planet. And this requires, and this is my last consideration, a new circular economy culture to be spread in schools, starting from the youth, but also in the business culture, in the policy culture, extremely important. And last but not least, and this is my last remark, we need to develop social circular economy. The social dimension is extremely important. The citizen is also in the center of the Green Deal and of this energy transition. We are doing this not only to improve the quality of the life of the citizen, but also the well-being of the citizen. And in that respect, citizens need to be involved in the decision-making in terms of energy transition, of promoting renewables in their cities, in their neighborhoods, to ensure the social acceptance, which is extremely important to promote circular economy and the ambitious targets of the energy transition. I think I will stop at this stage, and I would be happy to take any question that you might have.
Thank you, George. Wonderful, wonderful talk this morning to kick us off. So many circles, almost concentric when you think about it. It kind of just keeps, almost like I used to like throw rocks in like the ocean, and you would watch the waves kind of skim and it would go out from the ripples. It seems a lot of what, you know, when you think about citizens and regions and kind of cascading down from the top, certainly a lot of concentric circles. The 8% you talked about earlier as an average, I guess, from the circular green, blue, and digital part of your remarks there. Any particular country well in excess of 8, and are others bringing it down? How does that, you know, if you would look at the landscape there for country by country, anybody doing much better than that?
Glenn, this is an average, which of course is increasing as circular economy is financially supported, and thanks to this green financing, any new investment in order to be financially supported in terms of grants or bank loans will have to be green and reduce its footprint. Therefore, circularity will be mainstreamed in the financing and in the life of the companies, and private-public partnerships will also benefit from that. So this is an average which has the performant and the less performant countries. Indeed, there are some countries where the environmental standards and circular economy are higher than in others. For example, within the European Union, I can refer to Denmark, which is a pioneer on renewables, to Sweden, to Finland. They have a long-standing culture, and there the civil society is more aware in terms of the Netherlands as well. It's very difficult to make different categories, but it is true that the older member states of the European Union are more aware, and I would say have a higher awareness compared to the new states. This is why through the Next Generation EU, which is a very ambitious 700 billion program, we are trying to ensure this transition. 30% of this budget will go to climate and circular economy purposes. And we hope that soon within the European Union, this percentage will, of course, be increased. And we would be happy to share this model with our partners, as I mentioned at the very beginning, and support them also financially to develop it and to increase their circular economy record.
Well, you know, partnerships and relationships are very important. And George, we thank you for your table setting talk for us today on our final day of the conference. Great remarks, tremendous portfolio here of work in the area, and you guys are doing some great work there. So we really do appreciate you joining us today, and we thank you and wish you a pleasant weekend, and hope to see you again soon. George Kremlis joining us today from Athens. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Glenn. It was a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you.
All the best. Bye-bye.